All right, so we're gonna get ready here. We're gonna introduce our next guest. Now, while you guys are really being wonderfully respectful, I appreciate it. But here at this point,
hands down, the best audience we ever had.
Hands down, the best. And what we're gonna do now, we're gonna actually have you clap for the amazing Clark Stacey. I'm gonna introduce you to this amazing person. Clark Stacey brings a unique background to game development, transitioning from academics where he taught classical civilization and researched ancient athletics at the University of Utah. He joined in development and game design at Beyond Games in 1993, creating popular FPS and racing titles including Hot Wheels, Velocity X, and Motor Mayhem. Later, he secured venture funding to establish Smart Bomb Interactive as VP and executive producer, while also founding Cobalt Interactive to pioneer advergaming. Clark Stacey has been instrumental in building Utah's digital entertainment industry as co-founder of the Utah Digital Entertainment Network, as a multi-panel speaker at Global Tech Conference. Clark Stacey is wonderful because his insights span from game development to venture funding, cross-platform publishing, and building tech ecosystems from the ground up, making him an invaluable resource for entrepreneurs and developers looking to scale in emerging markets. Let's give it up for Clark Stacey, everybody.
Woo, woo. Make those hands work.
I didn't even know that I knew all that. That's all right. Hello, Sacramento. I don't know if you guys realize how unique what you have here really is. You know, as technology globally has evolved, we've seen these little pockets of creative explosion develop, right? Silicon Valley is sort of the pocket, but we've seen Helsinki, we've seen Tel Aviv, we've seen these other places that you wouldn't have necessarily picked to become tech hubs. And as far as I can tell, as an investor, there are three things you need to make that happen. Obviously, you need an educated, high-tech workforce, and you have that here, right? You also need a culture of hustle. That's what built Silicon Valley. You need an entrepreneurial drive that's almost built into your people. I was told last night that that's because of your water, that you have amazing water here, and that's what creates the hustle of Sacramento.
The science.
Yeah. Then you also need a certain amount of creative courage, because there are regions that have become sort of service-oriented tech hubs because they have the educated populace, they have the entrepreneurial drive, but they haven't given themselves permission to tell their own stories yet, right? You guys have all three of those here. As an investor, this is my favorite type of place to be, because you can feel that this is just about to flower. This is just about to explode. So we're going to be talking about that in a variety of panels today, and one of the first is a panel with a couple of people who I don't know if they're ready to come up yet. All right. Do you guys
want to introduce them?
You want to tee this up? I'll sit down and shut up, and you guys do it.
So joining us on the but that was really powerful. I can feel the tingles about the flower part. Yeah, that was intense. So joining us on stage is Ignacio Rial González, former Consul General of Uruguay, strategic advisor for cultural diplomacy and international cooperation. Ignacio Rial González is a seasoned diplomat and global affairs strategist who served as the Consul General of Uruguay in major international hubs, where he led efforts to deepen cultural, economic, and creative ties across Latin America, Europe, and Asia. Please.
Yeah, give it up for Ignacio. Whoop, whoop. We're also bringing on the stage Mrs. Mrunal, Nikett, Walke, Senior Advisor of Goa International Film Festival, IFFI Curator and Policy Advocate for South Asia Creative Industries. Mrs. Mrunal Nikett Walke is a respectful curator, festival strategist, and senior cultural advisor to the Goa International Film Festival of India, one of Asia's most prominent film festivals with deep experience in programming, artist relations, and public sector engagement. Mrs. Walke has played a key role in positioning IFFI as both a cinematic celebration and a policy-driven platform for South Asia's creative economy. Let's give it up for them. There it is. Love the excitement.
See, so it might not be immediately apparent how much Georgia and Goa and Uruguay have in common, but it's actually kind of surprising. These are all countries or regions of under 4 million people. They have a lot of other characteristics that are similar, and the reason that I really wanted to talk to the two of you is because if I'm here, if I'm an entrepreneur or a policymaker based in Georgia, I'm wondering, how do I build the ecosystem that you guys have managed to build in Uruguay and Goa? Where does that come from? How do you get started? How does that happen? Because I think that there are some unique examples that you can talk about that can be replicated here, right? And let me start with you, Mrunal, and talk about the creative ecosystem in Goa that fuels the filmmakers that you work with. Could you talk a little bit about that, and how are you involved in nurturing that ecosystem?
Goa as a state, when we look at, Goa has all types of natural ecosystem, which is required for the film industry. It's in film city in itself. You don't require to create special, the structures for the shooting. It has the backwaters, it has beach, it has heritage structures, it has a colonial influence in it, it is adaptable, and it is well versed with the international people coming in over the years. At the same time, it's very well connected, and it's being very, very small in the size. It's easy to move from one end to another without any hassles. Apart from that, the people of Goa, they are culturally driven, they are more rooted, and they are more artistic in nature. So for them to accept the industry coming in and then facilitating those things to them is very, very easy. So that's how Goa has always been instrumental in it. However, over the years, what we have done is we have tried to make it a little easy for the fraternity to come to Goa. We have tried to get, instead of being very, administrative, procedure-wise, we have tried to get everything on a platform. So if anyone wants to take the permissions and everything in the state, it's quite easy. So, if any international production houses wants to come down to Goa, the India as an investment hub, which is their film investment hub, it allows you subsidies also. So, in a way, Goa is very conducive in terms of film fraternity for events for entertainment industry.
Yeah, it sounds like it was almost engineered that way.
Yeah, it was.
But there's a lot of history there.
Yes, it is.
And I'll tie this into you, Ignacio, because Uruguay is kind of a hidden success story in Latin America. And I think one of the things that you mentioned last night that it may share in common with Georgia is sketchy neighbors, right? You're in a region right now that is often disrupted, that often has warring political climates on either side of you. And one of the challenges that you've faced is navigating that and drawing international investment there. Can you talk a little bit about that ecosystem in Uruguay and how you've navigated that challenge?
Well, I've get to know a little bit more of Georgia because a Georgian friend I have, he was a Consul General of Georgia in San Francisco, a great guy, live on. And he introduced me to Georgia, and we just started discussing, the commonalities between both countries. And we really have lots of things in common, other than, we have like small populations and, talking about the neighbors and stuff. I don't know, like, raise your hand if anyone has been in Uruguay. Right on. Like, any Georgian been in Uruguay?
Yeah, we've got a couple.
Over there? All right. So we have lots of things in common. And building an ecosystem takes time. It takes, as you mentioned, education, political stability. It's also key. but also, like you have the right incentives from the government. Could be like tax incentives or just, try to bring people from abroad, to just give us like the right cues in order to build the ecosystem. And and everybody at some point wants to be like Silicon Valley, but it's just not possible. So you just have to focus at some point about what your competitive advantages are. And so you guys in Georgia have your competitive advantage, which I'm sure that you well know which are they, and we have ours.
Well, talk about that a little bit, because Mrunal was just talking about some of the competitive advantages that Goa has had in film.
No.
What are the strengths of Uruguay, and how do you promote that internationally?
So challenges we have is that Uruguay, it's not a very well-known country. Especially, when you go to the US, it kind of takes some time to, you just have to give them some cues. Oh, well, it's in South America. It's like, okay, good. And normally people tend to confuse us, with Paraguay sometimes, and oh, you're in South America, oh, okay. And people know more Argentina and Brazil, so it's kind of hard to just
stand out, huh?
Yeah, the awareness of the country it's an issue somehow. And so, what we talk about the most is like, well, we're a super stable country politically, economically. We have good education in the population, and we're super hardworking. And if you think of the U.S., one of the great advantages we have is that we have almost the same time zone. So when it comes to working, especially when you do think of outsourcing, like IT services, it's a great location. So.
So that gives you sort of an immediate opportunity partnering with U.S. tech companies.
Exactly.
Co-development, that kind of thing.
Exactly. But it's kind of a challenge for us because as I mentioned before, it's not a very well-known country, but we don't have, the thing is, particularly in the U.S., people don't have they have like a neutral idea of what Uruguay could be. Unlike some other countries in South America, I don't want to mention any, but they have like a negative
preconception
of what those countries are. When you talk about Uruguay, it's like you start from zero, and then there's interesting things that
you can
say about.
I didn't know that was in South America.
Well, yeah, but the interesting things that you can say about the country, it's always raises an eyebrow, like in a positive way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so. And I know that Goa, while it's certainly known for film, and it's known for being a very beautiful place that a lot of people want to visit just because it's a beautiful place, it's also emerging as something of a tech hub, isn't it?
Yes.
And why is that? Is that related to the film industry and the area that you've been working there, or is that just entirely separate?
It's not related to, per se, a certain industry. After COVID, what we have looked at is people had preferred to migrate to Goa and settle down over there, and it was more, at ease with them. They had the infrastructure which they required, and most of the IT companies or the startups, they started taking shape during that particular time. And Goa had very, very friendly IT policies in terms of how they can set it and the communities can be built up. So there were a lot of artistic community also from the different walks of life and across the country who settled down during COVID. And I don't think so. Many of them have been now a permanent resident of Goa. And their artistic talent, including with the policies and all, and they have been able to mix it very nicely to create a different technology-based softwares, platforms. They're able to integrate that. A few of the things what we could look at as when the festivals which we conduct across the years, the 3-4 major festivals which we have. One is we have for the spatially abled people where it's all inclusive. So the technology, the culture, everything, fuses together.
It's not just film.
Yeah,
just
it's not
like-
just film.
Yeah.
It's everything together. Anything
Kind of like
that
what
is
we're
a
doing
part
here,
of
right?
entertainment or a creativity becomes an integral part of that event.
Yeah.
Similarly, when we flow down into IFFI, which we talk about, it's an International Film Festival of India, which is hosted in Goa. And my organization is the nodal agency for that to execute it from end to end. Now, there also we have a different type of aspects coming in. It's not only the film screening or the final product. We also venture into what are the different aspects of technology which merges into it to get this final product ready. So there we have a tech pavilions happening, we have a film bazaar happening. So it's always been all inclusive, and because the people are in the system, in the basically I think every family in Goa would have one artist or one creative person, So it's like, for us, it's like everyday thing. And we are able to, mix it. Then the final, which we also have a tie-up with one of the foundations called Serendipity Art Foundation. And they have a Serendipity Art Festival where different forms of art, including with the technology, right? It might be a still photography or a visual, audio, performing arts, craft, anything, everything that you consider as a creative aspect has been merged with the technology. So it's just evolved, it's just we felt that, yes, this is there, why not this?
So that it's that synthesis of the art and the
it's
tech.
just a very good mixture, a balance.
Right.
So, and it just happened automatically, and there was a support which was given. So it just went with the flow.
Well, and you mentioned too, and I wonder, Ignacio, if this holds true in Uruguay, that the digital nomads,
Yes.
the people who moved to Goa maybe because of the lifestyle, but they brought their creative enterprises with them. Has that been a part of Uruguay's success too?
Yeah,
other workers?
that kind of was like something that came after in a way. Luckily for us, the government had a very sensible COVID policy during the pandemic. So that made lots of people that were in like countries with like big restrictions, come to Uruguay, and we just, were open arms. And we were lucky enough that, we were talking previously about how you build an ecosystem and the things you have to put forward in terms of policy. The government put forward an interesting tax incentive for foreigners during those years. And so that made like great entrepreneurs and investors come to a country and live because it was a safe place. They had like a rational COVID policy, and so we had coming to Uruguay the founder of Mercado Libre, which is like the Amazon for Latin America. Lots of venture capitalists. The founder of OutZero, which was a company that was sold to Okta in $5 billion like a few years ago, and so many other entrepreneurs. One of the founders of Nubank, which is a Brazilian neobank, also was living in Uruguay. So that really just was a great addition to the ecosystem that was already being created during the past years. So yes, indeed. I mean, we benefited like greatly despite all the tragedy that COVID was.
Yeah.
Like in having like great talent come to Uruguay, and that is because we have like sensible COVID policies and also the stability in the country and the economy.
So stability, COVID policy, the tax incentives.
Yep.
Are there other things that that local government can or should be doing to nurture that tech community to build that ecosystem? I know here in Sacarvelo, the JITA helps incubate, even with direct investment, new tech companies, kind of giving them the ability to maybe find product market fit before they go out and get a full venture round. Is that, apply that to the situation that you've seen in Uruguay or Goa? Is that a good role for the government to play?
If designed well and it's flexible enough, yes, I agree. I mean, I think it's it's great like to kickstart, some companies.
Has Uruguay done any of that?
Yes, yeah,
kickstarting?
we've done. We've in the past years we've built a program which is called Uruguay Innovation Hub, that just did a program of matching funds, it's being deployed as we speak. But also something that happens to Uruguay is that we tend we normally punch above our weight, and sometimes we think big, or we can do too many things and get involved in too many verticals or areas. That
lack of
maybe
focus.
Yes, and sometimes we just lose focus because we have lots of talented people, but sometimes we lack for certain things critical mass. So the government has to really be very cautious about not trying to promote things that we could do, but we don't have like the enough critical mass to do it, or
Right.
market or talent even
Right.
to do it. So yes, I think governments should have some role, have an interesting role to play in terms of like incubating startups, or just helping them like with their first seed round, but up to a certain point.
Up to.
Yeah.
And what do you think about that, Mrunal? Because I know you'd alluded to this being part of the support that you get.
Yes. When it comes to Goa, the IT policy or the startup policy is very robust. In last 4 years, if we take the count, from 100 startups, we have reached to 600 startups. So there is constant evolution of what are the requirements or what are the support systems required for the startups, right? From the financial assistance to the infrastructure assistance. As long as, which we always promote, that if you have anything which you need over and above what the generic strategy says, because Goa being a very small, and there is a lot of connect between the people, the administration, and it's really very approachable system. So any startups which have any difficulties, or if they want some more additional support, they can definitely get in touch, and there is a system in place. We have different bodies which acts, like we have a Goa Investment Promotion Board, we have, IT technology set up, and all these systems help out. Now, from ESG's point of view, which I represent, we also support the systems which are creatively driven. So, everyone has a base over there. So it's mostly like we have helped them, to create different aspects, to touch the different aspects. Maybe it's tourism, or maybe it's social cause, or maybe anything that is required on a day-to-day, not very hardcore industry type of a technology.
Yeah.
It's more like a soft, like it's
Yeah.
more day-to-day type of a thing.
And that's an interesting comparison for Georgia, because it sounds like one of the things that's driven success there is the ability to tie local culture, local art into, incorporate it into that tech ecosystem.
Correct.
So that it feels uniquely Goa. And here, I mean, there's a lot that can make that uniquely Georgian. And yeah, that's a question for you, Ignacio. I think one of the challenges that emerging tech hubs like this face is talented young people maybe being educated abroad or even educated locally, but how do you retain them here? And certainly access to capital, obviously that helps, but what can the local entrepreneurial networks do to help hold that talent here?
What happens in Uruguay, we amongst IT talent, there's no unemployment whatsoever. And matter of fact, the salaries have been going up in the past years because of lack of talent, and companies in Uruguay tend to hire folks from Argentina, from Colombia, from Mexico, and other parts of the world. So there's not much of a brain drain for IT talent. Now, the thing we're looking for, and going back to what can the government do to to put in place the right policies, is how can we bring talented folks from other parts of the world to Uruguay, because we need that people. And it's hard because when you're talking about like especially IT, you know, and IT services, you can do it remotely, right? I mean, you don't have to be in a building and
Right.
just. So we had a hard time finding or trying to write the right policies to bring people to Uruguay in that sense. So I think it's more of a brain drain problem, is how can we bring people to the country.
So you're looking to attract outside talent
Exactly.
to move in
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. And that's the challenge we have, because we would design some programs, but it just didn't deliver as we thought it would be.
And you don't necessarily have some of the advantages that Goa has in drawing people there just as a tourist hub too.
No, no. But yeah, I mean, I think they're a little bit what happens in Uruguay and how the Uruguayan tech ecosystem is built is revolves mostly around IT services and companies that in the US that they outsource their software development to Uruguay, and now there's a growing startup community building tech products.
Right.
And this has been quite successful in a way. We had like 3-4 years ago our first Uruguayan company IPO in NASDAQ, which was great. And how all this success cases, then the people working in those companies, then they leave the company at some point and try to build their own things. So if you can think, of course, of the PayPal mafia, and how that founding team later built amazing companies, or Rappi in Colombia, which is also an amazing company, and they have also the Rappi mafia, and they've built also other amazing companies in Colombia. So it's all about just trying to build that first success case. And in the case of Uruguay, you need to go. I mean, you can go global, but we tend to go more regional. And because
you're not immediately chasing global markets. You're looking at what you can accomplish.
No, I think there's some kind of like cultural challenge there. We tend to go regional first in Latin America because it's like the low-hanging fruit for us. We have that easiness, let's put it that way, but also it's a con that we all speak Spanish almost in Latin America, other than Brazil. So that can we tend to naturally go to regional market. There are some companies that go for emerging markets, so then yes, they can go global, and they can go after, of course, Latin America. They go after Africa, Southeast Asia, parts of Asia. But I think that in terms of what you need to build an ecosystem, you need the entrepreneurs. You need the money, and you need education, both for entrepreneurs to change their mindsets, and also for the investors.
Yeah.
How to educate investors to invest well.
And I would turn that question to you, Mrunal, because when I first met Ignacio, his job was basically, I met him in Utah where I live, and his job was getting companies and entrepreneurs and investors to come pay attention to Uruguay, right? Are you involved in promoting Goa internationally as a filmmaking hub, or is a source of film creativity?
Yes, to some extent we are, because the organization's mandate is that to collaborate with as much as it's not only the film industry as such, but the entire entertainment segment, and. So yeah, we have been doing an active role in promoting it. However, the most important thing, what we are right now concentrating on, is what he was saying about most important is education. To create those resources in the state itself, and then they cannot be. Creativity has no stop. It evolves probably per second. So. You need to have those educational institutes, the training institutes, which keep on upgrading the resources in the state.
Right.
Only then it makes a strong fold for any industry to flourish. Apart from that, it's also important that we have a lot of other supporting elements. Like, in terms of film, we require a pre-production, production, and post-production studios. Now, we need to have that because anyone who wants to pursue a career or anyone who wants to shoot in Goa, then they would prefer to, complete the entire project and take it back. So, yeah, that's what we are right now promoting in a wholesome manner, where we are trying to now introduce education or fundamental course from 8th standard onwards, which is like 14-year-old kid, till it reaches to the final graduation, then the post-graduation, and then we are also exploring the options where we can send the students abroad for their further masters, or for exchange programs. So that's the whole process in planning, and probably I'm very happy to state that within maybe a month's time we would be having this introduction to the schools across Goa.
Okay.
So that's how it is.
All right. I think we're going to run out of time here in a moment, but I want to see if our audience has any questions for Ignacio, for Mrunal. If you are involved in building the ecosystem for tech flourishing here in Sakartvelo, do you have any questions for people who have done it in regions that are maybe similar in a lot of ways to Georgia?
No.
Christopher is standing there eagerly with the mic. He will pounce on you if your hand moves above your shoulder.
I'll throw the mic. I won't bounce.
All right. I have one more question for you guys. I know you Georgians are still warming up here. You don't trust us yet, but give us a minute. We'll win you over. I said at the outset that Georgia is one of those places where that creative courage to tell your own stories, to own the IP, to create the IP here, I think that's something that's emerging and very possible here. India obviously has been known for a long time as a tech services hub. Uruguay has been known as a tech services hub. You've succeeded with Goa in kind of putting it on the map as this is a place that IP comes from. How does that happen? How can Uruguay begin to develop that same ethos? How did it come about in Goa?
I think that's a big challenge. It's something that we haven't done really well, if I have to be honest, and something that we should be working on a bit more. Last night at the event, they were talking about how important storytelling is, and I think it's key, and we haven't developed it well yet, because we have this country called Argentina right next to our side,
right,
like on the west, which is it's like a Uruguay, but 15 times larger. So culturally, it's exactly the same. We're two different brothers, different personalities, but essentially we're very, very, very similar. So it's very hard to disentangle from them, aside from when we played against each other in football matches or something like that. Or they just do something embarrassing, and then we're just like, oh, no, we have nothing to do with them. But it is a challenge, and we have to work more on that. And if we want to define, what we are and what we're capable of, when I went, in my previous life, I was a diplomat. So I was Consul General of Uruguay in San Francisco. And, I got there by myself, and I was like, okay, so nobody knows Uruguay in California, so that's actually a great advantage, because you have a blank space right next to a country.
Yeah, there's only one way to go, right?
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, I'm gonna just say that Uruguay and repeat it over and over again. That Uruguay tech, Uruguay tech. You have to associate it with tech, and so I repeated that countless times. And so when folks came back to me, and even today, it's like, yeah, I remember you were in tech, right? It's like your country has a great.
That's smart.
And that's great, but that was just kind of a office individual effort. It was a micro effort. Now, how can we replicate this more on a bigger scale I think that's a challenge.
Gotcha, gotcha. Our handsome and dynamic MCs are waiting to come back on the stage here, but I would like to thank both of our panelists, Mrunal and Ignacio. Thank you for sharing your experience and from your countries with the folks here in Sacarbello. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Woo! Love
Thank you
that.
so much.
All yours,
Congratulations.
buddy.